Graeter's ice cream is more than just a dessert. It's the product of family love, unity, and loss. Graeter's ice cream is also a survival of different long battles between rival brands. This notable ice cream brand has found its way into the hearts of many, including celebrities. Oprah Winfrey called it the best ice cream she ever tasted in 2002. Popular gourmet magazine food writer David Rosengarten said the same in 2006, and Forbes writer Christopher Buckley praised it in 2005. So how did Graeter's ice cream become the ice cream brand everyone wants to have? Come find out in this untold story of Graeter's ice cream. When the Graeter family left Germany in the mid-1800s, they wouldn't have thought that their son Louis Charles Graeter would create what would eventually be a company worth millions. Louis and his parents moved to Madison, Indiana, where they worked as farmers. But farming wasn't what Louis wanted to do for the rest of his life. He had a burning ambition within him. Louis Charles Graeter left Indiana for Cincinnati when he was 16, with the ambition of making ice cream. In 1870, he founded Graeter's along with his wife, Anna, and they began operations from a stand at Court Street Market in Cincinnati. However, business was slow. At the time, ice cream was not a common thing. But fortune smiled on Louis and he soon had a shop. Keeping the business in the family, his brother Fred joined him and they employed additional hands. The men they hired were responsible for pushing around the Graeter ice cream wagon, which they used to deliver ice creams to customers. Graeter's also made candles to supplement their ice cream production. Business was good and Graeter's ice cream moved to a bigger shop, but things soon went wrong. In 1888, Louis took a loan of $1,000 and skipped town as he moved to California. He left the business in debt and everything looked bleak. However, Anna, the wife he left behind, stepped up and began to manage Graeter's ice cream before she too left. Then it was up to Fred Graeter to keep the business going. Fred was focused and he had a goal: to pay the debt that Louis owed. Soon the debt was paid, and in 1899, Louis returned to Cincinnati after failing to settle in California. He married for a second time there, and like his first marriage, it ended. Louis didn't return empty-handed. He brought a new method of making Graeter's ice cream that the company would be known for even to this day. Louis introduced the French pot method, a process that was slower but made the ice cream they made tastier. He tried marriage for a third time and got married to Regina, the daughter of a respectable businessman in Cincinnati. Regina, like her father, had a sharp eye for business. She and her husband began to make Graeter's ice cream on the last floor of the home they lived in. Finally, things were looking good for Graeter's ice cream. They had gotten over the rocky beginning and hoped to continue to build on their growing success. They even began to make other products too. Louis began to make milkshakes, malts, and fraps, and they made them along with the ice cream in the home they lived in. However, death had other plans. In 1919, Louis died when he was hit by a streetcar. His death left a leadership vacuum in the business. Regina filled the vacuum despite the challenges before her. She had to manage the business while being a mother to the children she and Louis had together, Wilmer and Paul. Known as the boss, Regina had plans to make the business bigger than ever thought. Slowly and steadily, she began to expand Graeter's ice cream. She oversaw the opening of a new manufacturing location and the creation of new stores in Cincinnati. Graeter's ice cream now had new stores in Norwood, Madisonville, Avondale, and Pleasant Ridge. Graeter's ice cream avoided one misfortune only to fall into another one. When Regina took over the business and managed to expand, the Great Depression happened. The Depression consumed many businesses in its path, but Graeter's ice cream stood firm. Despite being heavily affected by the reduced manpower and sugar shortage, Graeter's ice cream continued to operate and waited patiently for better times. After the Second World War, the opportunity came for Graeter's ice cream. The ice cream brand took advantage of the population growth after the war and expanded to more locations. However, the end of the war didn't only bring good news, it brought some bad ones too. The business had to shut down one of its locations, but this was mild compared to what came next. The end of the Second World War also introduced new players in the market, all of them directly threatening the existence of Graeter's ice cream. Now that the war had ended, manufacturers shifted operations from making war weapons and soon invented new methods of mass-producing ice cream. This, along with the widespread use of refrigerators, spelled doom for Graeter's ice cream. Graeter used their French pot method, which didn't allow them to make more than 2.5 US gallons of ice cream at a time. The dense nature of the ice cream meant that it had to be hand-packed, which meant problems for mass production. Still, while many companies switched to soft serve, Graeter stuck with its slow French pot method. The company had to deal with national ice cream brands such as Takeoutery, Dairy Queen, and Carvel, all of who used the soft serve method. Added to these national brands, Graeter's also had to deal with local Cincinnati brands like United Dairy Farmers, with its rapid growth, and Aglames's Bros, which was considered its direct rival. Graeter's matriarch Regina understood the situation, but she wasn't ready to roll over just yet. She added baked goods to the ice cream they sold but discontinued selling toys. But the matriarch wasn't around to see the extent to which the baked goods went. Want to find out what happened to the Graeter's ice cream matriarch? Like and subscribe to the channel for more. In 1955, Regina passed away, but all through her life she remained at the forefront of running the business. Her death brought a problem no one saw coming. It tore the Graeter family apart in a feud that lasts a generation. The ownership of Graeter's ice cream passed to Louis and Regina's two sons, Wilmer and Paul. The two men divided operations between them, with the older Wilmer taking charge of the production facilities and the younger Paul running the stores. But the two didn't see eye to eye. They bickered, and it got to a point where Wilmer had had enough. He bought out his brother Paul, dividing the family in two. Wilmer brought in his sons, Lou, Dick, and John, to help him run the business. His daughter also came into the business in the 60s. Wilmer and his boys steadied the business, and their popularity began to spread in the 60s. They faced stiff competition from other ice cream makers, but in Cincinnati, they were the undisputed kings. Graeter's ice cream was so entrenched in Cincinnati that other more national brands struggled to gain a foothold. Graeter's began to sell ice cream to other stores, beginning with a shop in New York in the 1970s. But doing this left their ice cream 4 times more expensive than it usually was. They needed to change strategies, and they did. They struck a deal with Kroger in 1987 and began to sell their ice cream in Kroger's supermarkets. The deal with Kroger allowed Graeter's to use other brands related to Kroger as well, allowing Graeter's ice cream to have a bigger national presence. The deal with Kroger paid off, and now Graeter's ice cream had a presence in retail stores across 48 stores in the United States. However, the growth slowed as another competition emerged. Marketed as a healthier alternative to ice cream, frozen yogurts became the go-to dessert for people. Like Graeter always does, they waited and used the opportunity to improve their production method, eventually mechanizing their French pot production method. With Lou, Dick, and John bowing out of the company, Kathy, their sister, became the leader, and the children of Lou and Dick, Bob, Chip, and Rich Graeter, got into the business. However, their fathers were not ready for their sons to have the business just yet, so Kathy continued to run it. The fathers didn't want a repeat of what happened between Wilmer and his brother Paul. The company continued to do fine, reaching a revenue of $5 million annually and a production of 100,000 gallons of ice cream yearly by 1989. It was in the 2000s that Graeter's eventually solved the issue of succession. The process was full of tension, and it took the usage of a business psychologist before the new generation of Graeter's new owners could resolve their differences. Luckily, under the new generation of owners, something miraculous happened. In 2002, Oprah Winfrey ate their ice cream and declared it the best she had ever tasted. That statement gave Graeter's the best publicity they could have ever asked for, and the new generations of owners took advantage of it. The company revamped its operations. They improved their website, launched new logos and packages, then went on a dedicated marketing drive. All their efforts paid off. However, despite the modernization of operations, the business still maintained its traditional French pot method of making ice cream. They are eager for the future, but never forgot the secret of what made them popular in the first place. Graeter's Ice Cream is a family business with its 4th generation of owners. It's evolved in how it operates, but still maintains key traditional values. But with the amount of time they spend making their ice cream, do you think they should stop using the French pot method in favor of a faster modern method? Tell us what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for even more interesting videos.